Hot-cold cycling. This is one of the problems you can get with an electric shower. It is so hot that you can't stand under it, and it's so cold you wouldn't want to stand under it. This is caused by the water temperature, the water flow not being high enough through the shower. I'm going to demonstrate. So here we have a typical electric shower. This is the heating tank, and this is where the problem really begins, is there's just not enough water flowing through the shower to keep this heating tank cold. Now there's one or two things you can do to check where the fault is before we get to replacing any parts, the flow valve for example. So what we'll do now is we'll think about the things that you need to check first. First thing you need to check is to check the valve that's coming into your house. Make sure that that's fully open, that it's actually turned on the whole way. Then again, we want to do the same thing with the valve on the line to the shower. If either of these valves aren't fully open, it can be restricting the flow through the shower, which, as I said before, is what causes the problem. We need to have a lot of flow through the heating tank. The other things you can check are fairly simple things. For example, that the shower head is clean. If that restricts the flow, it can cause the same problem. The hose often at the back of a shower head can get kinked. It's not always the obvious one to see, but that can also cause the problem. Two other things you can check. That if your shower has an inlet filter, you can take that out and make sure that's clear. Also, you could perhaps phone your local water authority and check with them that they've not got the pressure turned down for any reason. I guess in truth that the problem with the filter and the problem with the water authority is kind of far down the list. But once that you've checked that you've got good flow, the valves are fully open, we then need to look at one of the parts inside the shower itself. This is the part here, the flow valve. This is all the showers are fairly typical of the inside of a shower. I think what we're going to do is have a look at the flow valves themselves, and I'll explain what happens with them. This is a relatively simple one. What they all do is they all meter the water that goes into the shower fairly carefully. If they wear or go out of adjustment in any way, then the fact that they're not sending the correct amount of water into the shower can be what's causing it to go hot and cold. Now, this, as I said, is a very simple one. This is how it works inside. Basically, this thing here, this little cone-shaped thing, has flutes in it, and as you turn the shower on and off, it moves in and out a hole, which allows more or less water to come through. That's one of the more simple valves. We then move on to perhaps something like this, which is a flow valve, and this is effectively a stabilizer valve and pressure switch at the top that's combined. What happens in here is there's a couple of diaphragms and a spring, so that if the water pressure alters as it's coming to the shower, this valve tries to make sure that it keeps the water flow even. The more expensive the shower, the better quality valve you get. We can then move on to one of these sort of Myra ones, which is a couple of diaphragms inside, and becomes more and more complicated. It depends. Some of these are you're able to, with some showers now, this happens electronically. They're generally fairly easy to replace, these valves. We have a video that shows you how to, that's not specific to a flow valve, but it shows you how to change a component inside the shower. It may be worth looking at that before you attempt to change one of these. Well, there you have another Shower Doctor information video. If you like them, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and keep watching the rest of our YouTube videos. There's always more to come.